What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Collective Podcast. Last week we started to talk about the different personas that you can show up as online, and we got into the backstory behind it. We talked about kind of the dirty mindsets that we have in the world of social media and why this is happening to us. And so, if you didn't catch that one, make sure you go back an episode and listen to it. Because in this episode, we're going to break down what are the other two personas. At the end of last episode, we mentioned that most of you are vendors. Ugh, what a dirty word. But you show up as a vendor, right? That's all you know how to do is show up in that vendor role so that there's no value, there's no differentiator, there's nothing making you sticky to any of the people that you work with. But there are two other ways. There's two other ways that you can show up in a healthy manner that will provide you long-term benefit, that will provide you instant benefit to the people on the receiving end of it. And so Shane, we want to jump into this today, and this may be a two-parter because there's some pretty heavy things that we need to discuss to really help people identify how are they showing up. But then if that's not good, how can they show up differently?
Yeah. And just to kind of close the loop on the vendor conversation, I have several small group private coaching groups right now, people from all across the country, new, old, in the business a long time, fresh in. And I constantly hear people telling me their value proposition, which is good, fast, loyal, it's like the good, fast, and cheap, but they're not pushing the cheap typically. That's not true. There's a lot of people that are pushing cheap now.
Sure.
So it's the good, fast, and cheap. And I'll just tell you that if that's your value proposition, and you got to be real honest, because what a lot of people say is that's not my value prop. And then what they describe is exactly that.
Yep.
It's something that used to have more relevance and impact than it does today. It's not a value proposition anymore.
Right.
And the challenge with that is that when you say, I'm not a vendor, but I'm good, fast, and cheap, and I talk about my products all the time, you are a vendor. And the real problem with that is there are better vendors.
Right.
So it's not that people don't show up online as vendors. It's that the ones who show up online as vendors and win in that persona, identifying as a vendor, are doing it at a much higher level than you are. The person online who will talk about what they're doing on the weekend, will share a flyer, like you're just like kind of dipping your toe in the vendor pool,
right?
And you're not effective at it. And those that are, I mean, I was on with a group and they're like, no, I show up, I talk about work. And I said, okay, cool. Let's see how you compare to this guy. And I pulled up a guy who's a vendor in the mortgage space on Instagram. He's posted 3,842 posts. 95% of them are the exact same format, exact same style, exact same method. It's all about like how the bond market can buy you a house for free. I mean, he's a much better vendor than you, the person showing up online right now. And so again, it's not that you can't show up as a vendor online and win. You're just not going to beat the people who are already doing that effectively.
Yeah.
And it's not as fun. It's more difficult. It takes more time. It takes more energy, more effort. And so what we want to talk about, these other two identities or personas, one of them is the easiest to start with because everybody can do this well. The other one is harder for most to do. But once you do it, it's the one where people want to just pay you money. Like you're not even asking for it anymore. They're just giving it to you.
Yeah.
And so I want to start with this persona that will take some time to get into. And some people are trying to show up, but it's not working well yet. It's this mentor. Being a mentor is where you're a thought leader. Mm-hmm. You're a subject matter expert, a SME. And these are the people where when you go in your brain, you say, I really need to get good at fill in the blank, AI, sales, marketing, physical fitness, nutrition. These are the people that come to mind. There's a doctor on Instagram. I'll butcher his name. It starts with an N, Nicoliotino or something like that. It's like a Greek last name. The guy is a mentor. He's an influencer when it comes to your health. And he has a very consistent way he posts, but he's an expert. He's talking about the types of magnesium and how that interacts with your body and which one you need. And if you feel, tired, which one you're lacking. I mean, he is an expert. He's a doctor. And so if you're going to show up as a mentor where you're giving people motivational advice and guidance and expertise, do you have a PhD?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, it's not going to be effective. And I define that as I define effective as when you do things online, it brings you business offline.
Right.
Like it puts money in your wallet. And for this doctor on Instagram, it's putting money in his wallet, right? He's got affiliates. He's got it integrated well. He talks about magnesium, and then he has a magnesium supplement that he sponsors, and he makes 15% affiliate fee on that. Like he's putting money in his pocket. He's taking the online offline effectively. And so again, like this person, the mentor, they're positioning themselves as a thought leader. They're engaging in like teaching and leading and giving people resources. They have a mindset that's this abundancy mindset. And we know a lot of people in our industry that are in that position. And they're the ones who people say, hey, Kyle, I want to sign my team up for private coaching with you. Hey, Kyle, I want you to come speak at my event. Hey, Shane, can I get an hour of your time, paid, of course, to go through these concepts I'm working on? It's people like Barry Habib who are just being asked to speak. They don't have enough time to speak at all the opportunities that are being presented to them. And they're highly respected. They have deep value by their referral partners. And so you certainly can work to show up online as a mentor. But I would argue that comes as a byproduct of showing up in the other persona, which is the connector.
Yeah.
And I think this is the place where we should really all start. We should really all focus, and we should really lean into, because there's this concept, the law of reciprocation, and it is a universally known, accepted. It's like gravity. If you are a good person just giving out of abundance to people, the people that you're giving to naturally want to give something back to you in return.
Right.
They feel this positive obligation.
Yep.
And so if you've positioned yourself as a connector, and again, this is under the default assumption that if I go to your social media profiles, I see that you're a lender, I see who you work for, and your contact information is readily available, consistent, and you don't look like your high school prom photo from 30 years ago, right? Like that's the default, okay? If that's default assumption we all would agree to, then when you start connecting people with other people and things of value, the law of reciprocation kicks in. And if you're doing this at scale, which you can do for free through all of the different social media platforms, you can start to really win. And I would argue that online friendship most often comes from this opportunity to connect people with value. So let me give you an example. Gosh, this happens quite a bit actually. I look on Facebook and I've got 4,998 friends, and I've highlighted my top 25 people that I really want to connect with. And let's say for this example, it's for the collective, and I have 25 CEOs and executives of mortgage companies, mortgage brokerages that I really want to connect with because I want to build a partnership. And I see them online posting, and I could go back. Great opportunity. We're recording today, the day after Father's Day. Great opportunity. I go online and I see a guy who runs a really successful mortgage company, Brian View. And I see him online, and I see in his photo, he's got a hat on. It's a unique hat. I see he's there with his 2 sons, and I think his wife, could be his daughter. Good for Brian. And I'm going, okay, cool. And then I'm starting to look, oh, they golf. They're golfing together as a family. And then I realized that Brian lives just outside of Detroit. And then I go online, I do a little bit of research, and I realize there's a really cool golf course that's invite only. But because of my social media presence, I was just in Detroit meeting with an investor. I call that investor, could you do me a favor? I got this great broker owner, lives in Detroit, just went golfing with his family. Like, this is what he loves. He even says, this is what matters. I know you're a big player in Detroit. Could you get me a foursome at this golf course? And they go, dude, no problem. I then reach out to Brian and say, hey man, dude, it's so cool to see you online. Like, I know your kids work with you, and man, if it's cool, I'd love to just like send you guys to this golf course free of charge. Now that's maybe an extreme, right?
Sure.
but that could easily be done. And Brian's gonna be like, wow, man, thank you so much. And now again, my target list is 25 executives. That's a high level target list, right? So high level people need some high level connection, right? Then, for example, I watched Brian again 6 weeks later, and he's working through a challenge he's got with AI. And I DM Brian and say, hey, man, I saw you were working through AI. Hey, I've got this bot I built that solves your problem. Hey, would love to send it to you. Connect him with value. And then 4 weeks later, Brian's looking for somebody to detail his car. And I get online and I find like the #1 mobile detail in Detroit. And I say, hey, dude, this guy, really good reviews. He actually will come out to your office. I know you're super busy. In fact, dude, he'll detail your car at the airport. I know you're getting ready to start traveling. And now I'm connecting him with people. I'm going to do this to the point where Brian's going to be like, enough, man. What can I give you? What can I do for you? Right. And I'm stripping back a lot of the personality involved in this. And like, I want to be Brian's friend. I really enjoy Brian, but that's being a connector. Mm-hmm. Now it could also be connecting Brian with knowledge. Let's say we strip this back to an LO trying to work with a real estate agent. Right, which is really probably a better example for this audience. And the real estate agents are online posting about like new listings coming up. Well, instantly, we know that the vast majority of real estate agents have done a poor job writing their listing bio, the details on that listing description. And I have built out a bot in ChatGPT that makes really poor to average listing descriptions go viral. And so I take that listing description and I put it through my viral bot, which we talk about inside the collective in our AI lab. And I send to this agent, hey, Kyle, hey, congrats on your new listing. Home looks gorgeous. Hey, I know the market softened a bit, and I built a bot that actually helps your description go viral. There's 3 keywords you really need to highlight in your post. Would it be cool if I sent you that? Then you can update your bio if it looks good to you. Instant value, connecting somebody with value. Then a couple of weeks later, I do a post, and I get a bunch of people that are asking questions about, is now the right time to sell their home? And I'm engaging with these people and I say, hey, I got a really good agent locally in this market. Let me get some feedback from them. Then I reach back out to Kyle again. I say, hey, Kyle, I got 4 people on a social media post that are looking for whether or not it's a good time to sell. They're not ready for an introduction yet, but I think they'd be really receptive to a video that you could just record that I could share with them. Right? Would you be cool? So again, I'm trying to connect people together. Pretty soon, Kyle, the agent's going to be like, dude, like, what do I need to do? This is amazing. Thank you. Or here's another one. What if you went online? I see that Kyle's on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Yelp. And I just go on there and write a nice review about Kyle. Kyle's an influential agent in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. He's got one of the most positive attitudes. And in this market, positivity will help you win. He knows people. He's a connector of connectors. You would be wise to look at Kyle if you're looking to buy or sell a new home. And I put that on Yelp, LinkedIn, and Facebook. What's Kyle going to instantly feel like he needs to do? Reciprocate.
Yep.
It would be, and then if we're following through on the human algorithm strategy, which we talk about inside the collective, authentically just showing up. And now I'm engaging on his post. He's got a Father's Day post where he went to a Rangers game with his dad. And it looks like almost a twin of you. That's got to be your brother, right? Yep. Do they make small drapers?
There are a few small drapers, but not in my immediate family.
And so then I'm engaging with the Draper clan. I'm like, dude, congrats, happy Father's Day. Hey, I heard the Rangers won 2-1. That's so cool. Again, not asking for business, right? Not vomiting. I'm never too busy for a referral because that doesn't feel good. Makes you feel like a vendor. And then I'm just giving value. Pretty soon, Kyle's going to feel obligated to connect with me. Pretty soon, if I say, hey, Kyle, I'd love to grab coffee and show you how I'm using AI to really benefit my agent partners, Kyle's saying yes to that meeting. Pretty soon, Kyle might, if I do it really effectively, just feel naturally obligated to send me a referral. And this is how that connector, those who identify online as connectors, it becomes really fun.
Yeah.
Because what I'm actually doing 15 minutes twice a day, every day, Monday through Friday, maybe Saturdays and Sundays, depending on how much I want to grow. I'm scouring my social media feed, looking for people I can bless through connection. Connection for tools, connection for value, connection for prompts, connecting for scripts, connecting for discounts, connecting with leads, just connecting with value. The more I do that, pretty soon, 15 minutes twice a day, I'm connecting so many people with so much value that the floodgates are going to open up, and now they're going to start flooding me with value.
That's right.
And so this is the power in this. And I touched on a couple strategies, but we could go deeper on each one of those.
Well, and we are, and because there's also a flip side to being the connector and the mentor. You also have to learn how to be the connectee and the mentee, which I'm going to break down in the next episode. Guys, you've gotten a lot just in this little chunk, but we're going to turn this into a two-parter. We're going to come back, continue to deep dive on being the connector, being the mentor, avoiding being the vendor. Please remember, you can connect with us at thecollectivecoaching.com. We'd love to have a conversation. We'd love to be training your teams. So let's talk about it. But we'll see you back on the next episode. See you guys. All right. I put that clap in there so that Joel will see where the.
Yeah.
The
I thought that was
is.
for me.
No.
Squirrel.
No, it's not. All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to part 2 of this conversation about the personas that you can show up as online. The way you can use the internet to go out and add value for others, but also how you can show up yourself to begin to put yourself out there. And we talked about avoiding being the vendor. We last episode, we introduced you to the personas of being a connector online, being a mentor online. But there's 2 other ways that you can show up in this environment, because it's one thing to use social media to be a connector, but it's another way to put yourself out there in a way that allows people to connect to you as the connectee. And so what does this mean? Most of you, if you've been following Shane and I for any amount of time, you know that I used to be a pastor. Shane used to be a fireman. And you will regularly see us in our content talking about those things, telling stories from those seasons of life. Why? Because it creates connection points for other people. Shane, for the last 10 years, I've had people that have literally paid me money to come into my program. And when I'm like, oh, it's so cool that you signed up. Why'd you sign up? Well, you used to be a pastor, and I believe like you believe, and you just seem like a great guy, and I wanted to jump in. And I'm sure you've had moments where you've been talking to another fireman, you've been talking to a first responder, and that depth of connection creates a barrier of trust that cannot be established any other way. And so very quickly, y'all are having deep-rooted conversation, even though you just met 20 minutes ago. And so I want to talk for a few minutes about how do we be intentional about showing up in a connected way, not just using social media to connect with others.
I don't have anything to say. I'm just going to sit and listen because I think it's so good. I hadn't thought we were going to go that direction.
Yeah, I made it up on the fly.
No, I like it because when you become a person who just wants to surround yourself with more people and bring more value, which is what being a connector is, you do, those who do it most effectively are drawing on their previous experiences, their history, their story.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly doing that with the fire. And I had a business partner in the past who led from a place of ego. And so when I would talk about being a fireman, he assumed that I was doing it the way he would do it. And I love how you put that, because my whole goal of I'm proud of the 12 years I served my city.
Yep.
And B, very few people get to do that. And so you should be able to talk about that. But most importantly, and I use the word brotherhood, but it's a peoplehood, but it's a brotherhood where there is instant connection. And so if I'm a connector, what better thing to do than find areas of instant connection? And I just think that that's so powerful. And everyone has a story of a past with areas where they can find instant connection.
Yep.
Whether that's your high school alum, a sports affiliation. I bumped into a guy that I used to sit next to at the Seahawks games outside of that setting. In fact, it was on the light rail coming back from a game. I hadn't seen him in 10 years.
Wow.
And I kid you not, we would just sit next to each other and watch a game. That was our connection. But this was when the Seahawks were getting good. He bear hugged me on the light rail. Instant connection.
Yeah.
Right? I could walk to New York. I could walk the streets of downtown New York and I'd see a fireman like, hey, I was a fireman in Seattle, and the instant connection. Oh, come on in. You want a cup of coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Instant connection. So yeah, I love this.
Well, and so my favorite activity around this is I practice this in my life, but I also will run people through this exercise of what did you do before mortgage? Because every lender that I've ever met, all they know how to say is, oh yeah, I've been in mortgage for 18 years. I've been in mortgage for 27 years. I've been in mortgage for 4 years. And then they just want to keep talking about mortgage. And so I always go, whoa, 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 whoa. What did you do before this? And you'll get, I used to be a pastor. I used to be a fireman. I used to be a school teacher. All these things. I used to work in local government, right? Whatever it is. I used to be a stay-at-home mom. We very quickly, Shane, if we're not careful, the further we get from having done those things, our brain tells us we don't need to talk about it anymore. Hey, Shane, you haven't been a fireman in a long time. Like, how relevant really is that to you now? And now you're a dad. You didn't even have kids when you were a firefighter. Like, all these things, right? And same for me. Man, who cares that you used to be a pastor? But no matter how long ago it was, it's always people's favorite point of connection. Because as long as we're only connecting on the business front, everything feels transactional. The moment I'm asking you questions about fighting fires, you're asking me questions about preaching on stages, none of that involves sales. And so it allows for a quicker connection because our guards instantly go down. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, for anyone who feels like time limits connection, I mean, I categorically disagree, because anytime I see a veteran anywhere with a hat on that says Vietnam veteran, I don't ever think that guy's like 80.
Yeah.
Just why does that guy still identify as a Marine from 1965?
Right.
Like, I would never think that way about the military. And we look at people who take pride in a previous experience with reverence.
Yeah.
But then if you were a school teacher who did that for 15 years and you're in a new season, we go, why are you still talking about being a teacher? Now, I would challenge that a lot of the people with the negative, why would you still, are people who, when they do it from a place of ego.
Right.
And so we've also got to just, in every episode where we talk about social media, just encourage you to just ignore the noise.
Yep. And
I posted this in the collective last week. I said, find your people and ignore everyone else.
That's it.
Because, and I just to close this out, because we should become better at celebrating, communicating, and bringing up our past story.
Right.
That is sales. You said it's not like when you get away from sales, that is sales.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially in the service industry, which we're all in, like, we are the product. The loan isn't the product. The house isn't the product. We are the product. And so if we aren't sellable, nothing we do matters. And so, you know, to kind of like try to continue to make this make sense, I'm always blown away, Shane, like when I ask an LO, hey, in an ideal world, like, how many realtor partners do you need to be more successful than you currently are? I hear 4, I hear 8, I hear 12. but it's always in that 4 to 12, maybe 15 range, right? If I had 15 good realtors that were referring me business. So to the LO listening to this, that you were a school teacher for 12 years, you've now been in lending for 18 years. Do you know that there's 12 to 15 good realtors out there that also have a background in teaching? They also have a passion for education, but they left the school system to do it, and now they do it through the financial world and equipping first-time home buyers and veterans on the VA loan. And so by you not letting that be a part of your story, you're missing a connection with someone that every other lender that's never been a school teacher does not have the advantage of. This is why this is so valuable, that this is so important. And so this doesn't mean I need to come up with a 10-part series of things that I learned as a fireman. This means, can you pepper in some stories from when you were a firefighter that allow people to go, oh, wow, that's so cool. I didn't know that Shane used to be a first responder. That's awesome. Right? This doesn't ever need to steal the show. This is just in the background, living, right? So Shane could have a firefighter helmet in his background so that when people see videos, they're like, dude, what? Is that a fireman's helmet? Like, why do you have that? It's these little subtle things. And so, Shane, before I move into the mentee piece, because I think it's really important to explain, do you want to add anything else to this part?
Someone will say, I don't know any real estate agents that used to be firemen. Okay. If that were true, which I dispute that worldview.
Right.
If that were true.
Yeah.
You do know a person, and a person does know a real estate agent.
Right.
And so what we have to become better at, and again, we've got to be careful because the goal is to just bless people.
Right.
But when you're really good at blessing people, like my pastor is a perfect example. He's not because he's a pastor, but he is a connector. That's his job. He doesn't even speak that much. He's the CEO of our church who speaks on occasion and connects people with things. And he's constantly doing that. But he could call me and say, hey, Shane, could you do me a favor? Do you know a good electrician? We're doing work at the church. And I'm not like, that prick, that stinking vendor. No, I'm like, my friend. And this is where I would argue that the better you get at connecting, you can become a friend with someone. And once you've truly built a friendship with somebody online, you can say, hey, could you do me a favor? I'm in lending. I don't know anyone in real estate, which is not true, but let's say it was. I don't know anyone in real estate. Do you know anyone in real estate? Because agents tell everyone that they're agents.
Right.
Everyone knows somebody who is your ideal audience. And so one of the lies that I think we have to dispute and move through is I don't know anyone in that industry. Fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. I don't know any divorce attorneys. Do you know anyone divorced? If you know anyone divorced, you know divorce attorneys.
Right.
I don't know anyone who's into house flipping. Do you know anyone who knows anyone into house flipping? If you get better at engaging with people as a connector and you do that consistently, you'll become a friend. If you become a friend, you have the authority to ask people for a favor. And that favor is, hey man, I'm struggling to find people who flip homes. Do you know anyone who flips homes? It doesn't come off wrong.
Right.
And that allows you to then get to the person you want to get to if you're not good at going directly to the source.
That's it. That's so good. And so, guys, the key to this is start doing it today. Look at the way you pitch yourself as a lender. If you don't have a backstory in the way you pitch yourself, if you don't mention that you've been married 17 years and you've got 3 kids that are 18, 16, and 12, like that's a big deal. Those little moments are the moments that somebody goes, oh, no way, I have a 12-year-old. Boom. Whether you acknowledge it or not, subliminally, they trust you more because of that deeper opportunity to connect. It's how this works. And so many of you are overthinking what works. And really, and this could be another episode, Shane, you're always leading with the sell in mind. And so you're polluting every thought you ever have because the subconscious filter you're running the thought through is this going to help me get a lead today? Is this going to help me find a loan? And if that's always the case, you're never going to have a good idea because there's no such thing as an idea that always brings you a loan, that always brings you a lead. And so we've got to come from a place of contribution. But let's shift for a minute, and then we'll end this episode on, it's one thing to be the mentor, but what does it look like to be the mentee? Because Shane, what I've noticed is if I only show up as the so-called expert, which would be the mentor, that can over time feel conceited and arrogant. That's like, man, the only time Kyle opens his mouth is when he wants to teach something. And so what we also want to do is we want to open ourselves up to being students of life, students of our industry, students of people. And so this is very simple, and this comes down to the language we use. There's a big difference, Shane, in me saying, I want to teach you versus saying, let me share with you what I'm learning. And that subtle shift in language over time tells people, I'm also here to learn. I'm not just here to teach, I'm here to learn. I'll never stop learning. I'll never stop educating. And guys, what you're going to see happen over time is like people are going to share an article with you and go, hey man, I know you've been learning a lot about AI. Well, here's what I just found. Have you heard about this yet? Because you're showing people that you're open to learning, not just sharing your ideas. And unless you have the PhD, which most of us don't, you don't have the credit to only show up as the expert. Like I was just at an event last week where Dr. Jordan Peterson spoke. That dude can only show up as the expert and no one will ever think differently of him because he's got the track record. He's been doing it for 4 decades. He's one of a kind. There's other people that they can educate a little bit, but they also need to show up in humility because they don't have what he has. And so I think that's why it's so important to show up as a mentor, yes, but also let people know that I'm over here as a mentee as well because I'm learning and trying to grow just like everybody else.
Well, it's funny that you would bring this up because that was the topic of conversation yesterday at my church service. And the pastor who was speaking in his day job is an executive coach. And he said something that actually blends the mentor and the mentee into one singular persona. Wisdom is caught more than it's taught.
It's good.
And what he meant by that was the best mentors share their experiences, good and bad.
Yeah.
They're not saying, I'm an expert, do this. They're showing up and bringing people into their story. And he used the example of Moses and Joshua. Joshua learned through Moses's actions, his mistakes, his failures, his frustrations, as much as he did to Moses sitting him down saying, hey, Joshua, let me teach.
Right.
Wisdom is caught more than it's taught. And so if you want to be a mentor online, first be willing to be somebody who is teachable.
Yeah.
And somebody who is willing to share failures, faults, poor decisions for the benefit of others, not because you want to be a victim.
So good. And guys, remember that the easiest way for this to happen in the world of lending, I don't mean this poorly, but you guys get paid to answer people's questions. Like that's what you do. You're a glorified question answerer, right? Because when I talk to lenders, I'm like, hey, how many questions do you think a first-time homebuyer asks you over the course of the transaction? They're like, oh my gosh, 300, right? 50, if we're being honest. Those 50 questions should fuel your content online. so that you're not just showing up with, let me tell you about the newest loan product. Let me tell you about the new bank I went to because I couldn't cut it over there. And it was their fault. Now I'm going to this one. Show up as a concerned citizen of the lending community. Man, I was talking to a borrower the other day and they asked me this question and I couldn't believe they didn't know what earnest money is. So I wanted to quickly, for all my internet friends, I want to make sure you understand what this is because this will impact your ability to get into a home. Here is what earnest money is, and then lay it out. This is how you show up as an expert. This is how you show up learning. This is doable, but you've got to start now. Shane, you got anything to close us out?
Yeah, the humble mentor is a mentor who will win.
Yeah.
The mentor who comes from a place of ego is one that isn't willing to be a student. And that person, if they're successful, it's because they've been doing it for 4 decades or 5 decades or 3 decades. You sitting at home, sitting in your car, listening to this, needing a bump in production, are not going to win trying to become Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
You're going to win when you humbly show up and you say, hey, I dropped the ball on a deal 6 years ago. This is what I learned from it. So now you're the mentee and the mentor. And those two come together through humility. And then when you show up authentically and share that story, you're opening up a type of education that lowers people's defenses because of your humility. And that's what people want to learn. And that's who people want to learn from. And then it becomes easy.
That's it.
And then they're DMing you. And then when you think about, man, adding in that connector role, providing value for them, real value for them when they really need it, not when you want to sell something. It's hard to not succeed.
Absolutely. So you are right now showing up as one of these 3 personas online. And even if you're like, well, I'm not even online very much, whatever is there is showing up on behalf of you as a vendor, as a connector, as a mentor. And so our challenge to you is to go take a hard look at your social, at the things you've been posting for years, and ask yourself, if I didn't know me, what would I think of me? And you're going to be maybe embarrassed at first with what you find. But the beauty of this game is you can change the way people see you tomorrow by showing up different today. We hope this has been helpful for you guys. Again, you can go find us at thecollectivecoaching.com. We'd love to be a part of your growth. We'd love to be a part of your improved influence. We want to see you win. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you on the next episode.